welcome to our 3 Questions with MotionPoint series. Today we have Evan Kramer, our new CEO, and we're going to be exploring insource versus outsource translation. Evan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Dom.
Awesome. Well, it's a pleasure to start this series. And my first question for you is, what is insource versus outsource translation, specifically when it comes to website translation?
That's a great question. I'm glad we limited to 3 questions so I can really focus in on here. But insourcing versus outsourcing when it comes to website translation has to do whether you're asking a provider to do the translation services for you, or whether you can do them in-house using your own technologies. A lot of times when you're using an outsourced service, a lot of the technologies being used are proxy-based technologies, so that the service provider can leverage and have a lot more control over the QA, over the web engineering, over the hosting. Whereas the in-source options are more around using it within your own CMS and supporting it within that own infrastructure, sometimes using an API or a connector to that particular CMS.
Yeah. No, it appears that there's a lot of people involved with that process. So I'd ask you, what's the main consideration for outsourcing?
Yeah. It's a good question. I mean, I like to look at it as a total cost of ownership, right? And the investments you need to make to in-source website translation is a high investment. So if you are a company that's mature in the translation lifecycle, so you've been in a lot of markets, you've done translation for a while, you might be staffed up internally with localization managers, web engineers, project management. It's not just about the words, Dom. The words are actually the easy part in the translation process. It's getting the words in and off the web, because no longer today is our website just HTML. You're dealing with JavaScript, you're dealing with complicated dynamic content and functionality. And so if you're completely outsourcing it, that's all taken care of for you. And so if you're new to the translation lifecycle, such as going to market for the first time with a new language or entering a new language, I would recommend outsourcing it first, getting an understanding of how that web translation works. And then you can make that decision long term of whether you want to bring it in-house or not.
Yep. Wonderful. So that kind of begs the question, right? What's the number one consideration you should look for when choosing an outsourced translation program?
Yeah, if you're choosing any managed service, right, to me, it's all about what is that quality of service, how concierge is that service to you, and in the account management of that service and the quality you're getting on a consistent basis relative to the price you're paying. And you don't want to skimp on price when it comes to translation, because your brand is very important in the market. So you need to make sure that you're dealing with a vendor that has the highest quality of service, that is very concierge-like. And to me, that would be the number one consideration. A lot of times we get caught up on technology and how you do it, but when you talk about a managed service, right, if someone's going to mow your lawn every week, you're not going to ask them what lawnmower they're using. You want to see that the lawn looks nice and it's cut and it's done on time and high quality.
Absolutely. Well, there you have it. So consider total cost of ownership when you're looking at in-source versus outsourced translation, and then look for a concierge level service when providing an outsourced translation solution. Thank you very much, and see you next time.